white landowners, and they're talking about whether they give them the right or not to come through their homelands. They're going to use eminent domain. They'll just take that right away to put that water line through their lands. So, you know, I really strongly believe that we have to battle this tooth and nail, whether we get hurt or not, whether it's a presidential proclamation or in a Department of State has the total say-so of what happens here. We just have to battle on. Thank you for hearing me out.
I think we're getting to the end of our agenda, but as a matter of courtesy here, we do have Syed of the water system. Do you have anything to say, Syed? Russell's already spoken. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I think I asked you about first part that, you know, I'm very much concerned about the groundwater system, you know, which provides drinking water to the population of the I know we're talking about surface water a lot, and many people have covered that. But the groundwater system, you know, what the Oglala Aquifer, we are crossing it in South Dakota. So, I mean, if you think that we are not, we are. Part of the eastern Oglala Aquifer that occurs in South Dakota is where Tripp County is. And I know first, initially they wanted to go to Rosebud Reservation, and our tribe rejected that. So they went further east towards Tripp County and going south. But we still have tribal lands in that area. We still have tribal members who will be drinking that water. And should that be in some kind of jeopardy, obviously the Rosebud Sioux tribe is very much concerned about it.
Thank you, sir. Jake, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
I really don't, other than it's a concern for us as well. We, like I mentioned earlier, we have the proposed route crosses us 45. And it is a concern of ours, and we just want to work with everybody in minimizing the risk that the pipeline imposes on our waters. We're just here to work with everybody involved.
Thank you. Jake is with the West River Underground rural water systems and Canadian systems that interconnected to the flows through the port. So with that, I guess we have one final. Yes, Mr. Killis.
Habadakiapi, Mata, Ikiria, if you will. My name is Kevin Sawyer, State Representative from District 27. One of the concerns that I had is, you know, one of the issues that we did have, you know, we took this issue up in the legislature almost in 2006, I believe. And, you know, we wanted at least a third-party cleanup fund, and I think that's something that, you know, we should consider that, you know, considering that it passes through Cheyenne River historical territory, you know, it crosses our boundaries with the Oglala Sioux tribe and also goes through Rosebud. And, you know, to put this in context, that, you know, we were just pushing for a 1 cent tax on every barrel of oil that went through there, just 1 penny. And, you know, the powers that be in the legislature, you know, didn't pass that bill. So that's something that to consider, that, you know, just 1 penny on every barrel of oil that's going to pass through this, you know, that's going to end up with $10 million fund to protect all the landowners just in case something that did happen. So I want to really, you know, stress that to the State Department, and, you know, considering that, you know, we need to figure this out before moving forward. So with that, you know, I just want to, you know, I agree with what a lot of people said, but, you know, this moving forward, you know, we need to really think about what we're doing, because water, you know, I mean, we can't drink oil. You know, water is the only thing that we have left. You know, and that's something that, you know, with the demands that India and China are pushing on our country, that's something that we really need to consider. You know, is like, who's going to feed India and China? Where's that beef going to come from? Where's that wheat going to come from? Where's that corn going to come from? So that's something I really want to consider, and just throw that out there. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Trans Canada.
That's similar to the comment I made, but I was basing my comment on the concept of throughput, not the tax on per barrel. With that, I think we're about ready to conclude the meeting, unless we have, you know, one or two other comments. At least you have a comment. Yeah.
biogli na pe ustea chande ustea na pe cheese pe pe kapila wakizi machapi Dennis Elder and natural resources technician for the Gala Sioux tribe. And I just had a few comments as I was listening today. And as a people of the Gala Nation, of all the tribes, we're faced today with many adverse and traumatic issues that affect our daily lives. Things like poverty, unemployment, alcoholism, and abuses of all kinds. And we're also faced with the nuclear threat of uranium, yellow cake that's being trucked out of Crow Butte near Crawford, Nebraska, with the added threat of expansion into the North Trend and Dewey Burdock areas. And that's near Edgemont, not far from here. And these are at the foot of our very sacred Black Hills. We hold these hills in high esteem, very sacred to many of our tribes. Rosebud, Yankton, all have connection to that. And now you come to us today with the additional threat of building a pipeline that will move an oil slurry mixed with many toxic chemicals, mixed with volatile chemicals across our ancestral homelands, across the very lands on which our dead lie buried and who we hold in high esteem. And this is only going to increase the trauma and agony that we all already have to endure every day on the reservation. And we, as a consensus of tribes here today, you've all heard that we oppose this. From our hearts and from our soul, we oppose this oil pipeline that's going to cross our ancestral lands. And as I was sitting back there today, I heard that we have 3 options. We're told that no decision has been made, and that we're given 3 options. First of these options is to approve of this. The second was to approve a modification. And the third was not to approve of it at all. And I'm for the third option, which is not to approve of it at all. Not to modify it, but not to approve. Go around the Great Sioux Nation and don't disturb our dead that lay buried on the land that we love. So I approve I go with the third option that we're given today, and that's not to approve of it. And I'm sure that a lot of the tribes here agree with me today. So I guess with that, I want to thank you all for coming today. Thank all the tribes that are here today, and those of you that spoke. And I just want to say, I hope that you think from your heart, not from your mind. That way you have a better understanding of what this land means to us and how much we love it and we cherish it, along with all of the animals, and all of the birds, most of all the water that we hold in such high esteem that we consider to be very sacred. As we have said before, water is the gift of life. So think from your heart, not from your mind, and make the correct decision. Thank you.
Well, I think that is coming to the end of our meeting here. This was a consultation, government to government, with the federal agencies in the morning, and then with the agencies and Trans Canada representatives in the afternoon. Focus of the meeting was basically looking after cultural resources within the Sioux areas, treaty areas, Aboriginal tribal areas, and then focusing on the crossings with the pipeline and the Miniwitchoni core line. So with that, I don't think I think we pretty much exhausted question and answer. We have one final item, and that's for Art and Freetag to come up and kind of give some closing remarks on what he thinks was accomplished here today.
Thank you, Mario, for facilitating this. This is a good opportunity to get federal agencies together and get input from the different tribal members, tribal departments, and other folks that might be affected by this. I really appreciate the information that Trans Canada and the representatives provided. Tried to track some follow-up and where we go from here. And I think, you know, the process that's been laid out, as I understand that there's a 90-day review period that the State Department is expecting before the national interest determination. And as I mentioned before, as far as reclamation's part of this, as far as the trust responsibility for the easement that we hold from the Minachoni project, process that we're going to go through is in consultation with the tribe, come up with those conditions that we would expect that would cause the Trans Canada Keystone XL pipeline not to interfere with the Minachoni pipeline. And I think that's, I guess I noted that's one thing that needs to be done as follow-up as far as our engineers getting together with the tribe's consultant engineers and Trans Canada to work out a few issues yet. There was an offer by Trans Canada to have a follow-up meeting and potentially a tour of some of the Minachoni facilities. That's something we can touch base with later and see when a good time to do that is. I would expect, you know, within the next 90 days or so this fall yet. I think the other follow-up for other folks here are to forward any questions they have for the Department of State that Joe can forward to the appropriate individuals within his agency. That's all I got, Mario. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Arden, do you think you can reduce that to writing and maybe your closing comments so we have it in writing? With that, I guess that concludes the meeting. So I want to thank all of the representatives of federal agencies for